Good morning and welcome to Japan. My name is Martin, and today I'm going to do a fan favorite. Why did you move to Japan, Martin? Why did you move to Japan? Well, it's going to take us a little bit of time, so I hope you have a couple minutes on your hand to get into this one. I'm actually thinking that I have a lot of explaining to do. Why I moved to Japan is going to be the kickoff to answering a lot of questions and to, starting a lot of discussions. So why did I move to Japan? Well, shoot, I haven't memorized my script yet. Hang on a second, let me just look through it. There's no script. I moved to Japan because, first thing that pops into mind, I moved to Japan because Japan is lovely. No. So the first thing that comes into mind is I moved to Japan because I'd been here a bunch before, over the years, and Japan was always really kind to me. What I look for, or what I've taught my son is that when he finds a woman, that the most important thing is for her to be kind to him. It's like, I've taught him that since he was like 5 years old. I was like, I hope you find someone that's kind to you. I was like, she doesn't need to like daddy, that's not Japanese accent. She doesn't need to like daddy, that's New Jersey accent. She doesn't need to like me. She doesn't have to be pretty. It's just that she's kind to you. I have an other list of assets that I've listed, but I don't want to start a culture war. But being kind to you is the thing that I told my kid that his future wife should be. And Japan was always incredibly kind to me. I visited for like dozens and dozens and dozens of years before. Hold on, that would make no sense. That's like 300 years. It's like 37 years. I visited for like 8 or 9 years before I decided to move here. And every time I came, everything really worked. It's like highly functioning Japan. And I visited quite accidentally. One day, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I was working as an editor on TV. I say this because I never edit television. I've edited a few TV shows in my life, but I mostly make commercials, like old-fashioned TV commercials, the kind that ran on television with budgets and crews and all that kind of jazz. So one day, I was editing a TV show, just on a fluke. Like one thing led to another. I edited a TV show, and I met a Japanese woman, and I knew where Japan was on a map, of course. You know, I'm of the learned class, but I hadn't really thought much about Japan. But I met this woman, and I asked her out on a date, and she said no. She said absolutely not. This was maybe 15 years ago. She said no. So then I asked her on a second date, and she said no. Now in my life, I have a lot of little stopgap measures and rules because I know I'm an idiot. So one of my general rules is 3 strikes. I have a 3 strikes rule. 3 of anything and I'm done. Like if you come to my house and you urinate on my floor once, it's not a problem. I'm just like, oh, dude, remember that time you urinated on my floor? No problem. Forgotten. You come to my house and you break my favorite comic book, eat my last cookie, whatever. First time, no problem. Second time, again, no problem whatsoever. But the third time, it's on me, everything after the third time. So I asked this young Japanese lady out on a date, and she said no. I asked her again, And she said no. So, I'm a pragmatist as much as I am a whimsicalist. It's from real Michael Scott at Nature. And so I said to her, real straightforward. Hey, look, I like you. I'd like to go out on a date with you. I've asked you twice, but I'm not going to be a nuisance or a pest. So I'd like to ask you one more time. Please come out with me. And she came out with me. And I never left. Like herpes, I just stayed. And then one thing led to another. And I ended up here in the Japanese countryside. So let me step back a little bit. So we first came here and we went on a whirlwind trip. People often ask, another popular question people ask me is, I'm coming to Japan, what should I do? I call it the trip that she tricked me on, because this is what you do when you've dated someone for dozens of years. We went to Tokyo, of course. Then we went up to Nagano and swam with the snow monkeys. We went down to Kyoto and, did all the ridiculously beautiful things you could do in Kyoto. Then we went down to Nara, and checked it out. And we stayed in incredible places. Ryokans, ryokan, which is a word for it's like a fancy bed and breakfast here. It's called a ryokan, basically. And we stayed in temples. It was ridiculous. It was like the grand trip of a lifetime trip to Japan. And so that was my first trip here. And it was awesome. But having been someone that worked and lived in New York City and is quite comfortable and happy with the accoutrements and luxuries of life that make life comfortable, I felt comfort before. But in Japan, I experienced this thing that was very different from all the other places that I had been. No one cared about me. Like, no one in America, everywhere I go, like, I'm a black guy. I'm a black guy here. Let me not forget myself. I'm a black man here. But here, I'm an American first. And that is a concept that snuck up on me. I didn't realize what was going on. Like, Japan did everyone, me, you, countries, everyone does their own horribles. Like, America's horrible was slavery. Japan didn't do the whole slavery number with African slaves. So there's no like built-in boogeyman factor of me here. Like, for example, where I'm walking here in the middle of nowhere, if I were in the equivalent spot of my country, the United States of America, walking around in, let's just say, Wheeling, West Virginia. If someone's watching some Wheeling and they're like, I love Wheeling and we are the most liberal democratic people ever. America. If I was in America walking around on a Saturday morning through a rural area, by now the cops would already be like, hey, where you headed, you boy? You been doing any drugs today? No, officer. You got any ID on you? Yeah, actually, I don't have, it's at home because I'm making a film. Do you mind stepping over here for a minute, sir? Sir, am I under arrest or am I free to go? You one of them college boys? Well, I did go to college. Well, listen up, boy. Let me just, hang on. Yeah, I got him here. Yeah, complaints about him? Let me see. All right, boy, you're under arrest. Like, that's not far-fetched. I'm being farcical and funny, but it's not far-fetched. Over here in Japan, that whole thing doesn't exist. So I was drawn to this place because all of a sudden, not like stupid OJ, or OJ made this quote where he said, I'm not black, I'm OJ. But all of a sudden, I was no longer just a black guy. I was an American person. And much to my surprise, America is a country that is, even now, in our state of utter chaos, is admired and aspirational. It's an aspirational country. So everyone was really fucking cool to me, basically. And most importantly, no one bothered me. I was ignored. Like, because of Japanese culture, if you walked into a place covered, I can't think of what would make someone flex. There's a word for your interior feelings and your external face. Like, it's culturally, it's not acceptable for someone to, when I walk into a store, for someone to go, and I know that inside everyone's going, because where I live, I'm like the first black man on the moon here, man. Like, there's no, I'm gonna use one of my favorite words, which makes people very upset. There's no N-word people up here. Like, there's no, like, I've never seen a white person here. I've seen, like, an Australian. They're pretty white. All right, slow it down, man. Slow it down. Be cool, iceberg. Be cool. It's a very, very, very Japanese area. So whenever I walk into places, I'm surprised the record doesn't stop. So in a very roundabout way, what I'm saying is that I began to become curious about moving to Japan because it felt free. Now, of course, nothing in life is free, kid. It's a high cost for the freedom of living in Japan. That really is its own video unto itself. But briefly, you know what? I can't even get into that briefly. That's its own video. The high cost of freedom in Japan. That's its own video. So, to continue on this, answering this question in the longest possible way, why I moved to Japan. So I was working for one of the world's largest advertising agencies, and I had my own silver box looking out over Midtown Manhattan. I'm an editor, you know, and a shooter by trade, so I had my own office. I was at the very top of the middle. I was the most senior black person I've ever met in my position to this day. You know, you know, I got to go to all the corporations that you could think of and go sit in the rooms and hear all the dirty little secrets about how these things work, including the device I'm talking into right now and the means it's being transmitted over. And that's why it may be hard to find if you really are like that 1% that wants to go do a deep dive, you're not going to find anything, because I never got involved in these things because I was part of the machine before, to a certain degree. A small part, but part of the machine. But when I came here, I started talking to this machine and sharing these insights with you. So where was I? We're talking about moving to Japan and why I moved to Japan and the high costs of living in Japan. So yeah, I moved here because I wanted to have freedom. So one of the things that's interesting about Japan is that this building that you're looking at here, which is beautiful, I know this one for a fact, costs about 5,000 US. So this is your neighbor across the way. That's just straight mountain behind you. And so this is outright. This costs less than a fancy DSLR camera. And in Japan, you can tell the building is no longer occupied, for starters, because the mailbox has no name on it. I mean, there are other telltale signs. Let's see if we can look in a window. Can't really. We can walk around the back. But a building like this in Japan is a liability, not an asset. I mean, if a Westerner were to take this building just as is and just keep the guts and make it beautiful on the inside, I mean, your view, you live next to a stream. It's overgrown at the moment. And you have a view, what is that? It's a lime tree? What kind of tree is that? What is this tree growing? Oh, these are persimmons. Get your own well-aged persimmon tree. This is the back of this thing. But yeah, for one luxury weekend, you know, at like the Four Seasons, you could buy this guy and own it forever. So the point being is that one of the reasons that I came here is that housing is very affordable. That's another reason why I moved to Japan. Rent here, let me preface all this. I'm in the Inaka. The Inaka is a word for, I say colloquial. Some people say it is what it is. It's sort of like, the Inaka to me is sort of like the word Jew. There's nothing wrong with the word Jew, but sometimes depending on, Ohayou gozaimasu, sometimes depending on the mouth that the word Jew is coming out of, it can sound really wrong. The Inaka kind of shares that flavor. Like coming from me, the Inaka, I love the Inaka. And I love Jewish people, shoot. But it's like Inaka, Jew, oof. It's like a pencil, it can be sharpened too much, Same with Gaijin. I just read a whole article about Gaijin and about this. Now, I'm a foreigner here, so I'm very hesitant to get into discussions on Japanese culture, Japanese words, but Gaijin is my word. Like, my Gaijin Hotosan name was given to me by the good people of Japan themselves in America, where people are a little more forward, where the kids would say, Gaijin Hotosan, blah, 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 Gaijin Hotosan. It's like the first Japanese I learned was Gaijin Hotosan. But I understand that words can hurt people too. But as a former N-word in America, the N-word, not nice. Gaijin, again, was sort of a bit of an upgrade. I love being Gaijin, because I'm a Gaijin, German guy's a Gaijin, President Clinton's a Gaijin. We're all Gaijins together. Let's take a look at this. So here in the Inaka, housing is ridiculously affordable. But of course, with great affordability comes great responsibility. Oh, that's Spider-Man. No, with great affordability comes an incredible amount of ruralness. So it's like painfully beautiful. I mean, it's rich in beauty. But it's really super ultra isolated. Like, I've never run into a native speaking North American native English speaker from North America here ever. Not one time. Let alone see any black dude like me rambling around. I mean, most of the places I go here, even the street I'm walking on right now, I can make an argument that I'm the first black guy that's ever been here. I mean, I am the astronaut. Often on Twitter I use the astronaut icon, a little black astronaut, which they've conveniently included, because it does feel like being an astronaut. So, let's just review. I moved here, I met a woman from Japan. I came to Japan, it was super nice. The housing in Japan was really inexpensive. And I got to become an American, an upgrade from being a black guy. I still get to be a black guy, and I have all the rights and privileges to get my car, to get my discount at the Costco and all that stuff. But nobody's afraid of me here. I'm just another foreigner here. And to those of you who are not black guys in North America, you don't understand how dope that is. To be able to just be, just be especially if you're a weirdo black guy like me and does weird stuff. Like, it's incredibly freeing to all of a sudden just lose your scary card and just get to exchange it for an American card. So I think, those are the big highlights. So a little bit of an appendix here. One thing about not having come here with a lifelong dream of living in Japan, or having any particular interest in any Japanese art, food, or cultural landmarks whatsoever, and moving outside of one of the metropolitan areas, is that gives a man a lot of time to think. And every great idiot has said the same great phrase to me throughout my life. You know what your problem is, Martin? You think too much. So I have definitely had way too much time to think too much. Oh, another reason I moved here is because this is the greatest vehicle in the history of mankind. I mean, this is a piece of engineering and design that is unlike any other. This is a K truck. K is a class of vehicle. It's a lightweight vehicle. And this is the ubiquitous Japanese K truck in all its glory. So I discussed why I moved here. But let me discuss a couple of like the incredibly lovely things about being here. The Inaka, the countryside where I live, is full of this accidental beauty. And as a Westerner, I'm the only person that can see it. Like, watch this. Like, this is very pretty, but if someone came to me right now, which they wouldn't because no one's going to bother me, but if someone were to come to me right now, they would ask me what I'm taking a picture of. Watch this. This place is full of really beautiful things. It's just, it's legitimately frozen in time, you know? And these things are, you know, are for better or for worse. This again is sort of a bit of a second video. And if you're like a design person like myself, there's just so much powerful design here. And a lot of the design is just circumstantial. It's just something I have yet to figure out. It's just they have this way of design that's just next level. I mean, this is a gas container, but can you dig it, man? I mean, it's another gas tank. Pink and gray. They chose pink and gray. Like, that was not by committee. There's just a lot of accidental beauty that happens. I mean, speaking of, look at this garage. Let me just step in a little bit. Like, it's like being in one big master's installation piece. And because of the languages here, Ohayou gozaimasu. Ohayou wanman. Genki no wanman. Ohayou gozaimasu. Hi. Because of, you know, the incredible, complicated language here, all the words disappear, so I can get to enjoy form. But there are things just laying around. Like, I've been walking by this sign for years now. This is a week ago. Like, this sign, put this sign in your proper Western, put this sign in Soho. And put it in an art, you know, showroom for design, or, you know, the ABC carpet. I mean, that's a $1,200 sign, and it's just sitting here. Living in Japan is like living in a museum. I mean, and a time machine. This is a photo studio. I've been in here and had my picture taken. Let me turn around so you can better get this. I mean, and then of course, there's just otherworldly things like the battery machine. It's a freestanding battery machine. But check out this photo studio. Japan's otherworldly. I mean, and it's a blessing and a curse to be the only one here. I mean, as you could tell, we've run into one dog and one man so far. An old Hirayama Sachiko. Good morning, love. How you doing? Genki? Okay. Oh, let me show you the treasure of this town. There's too much signage. I mean, anyone can find me easily, but I fear just giving a direct, exact road map here because people think that all I do is walk along all day and wait to be happy. Nothing could be further from the truth. Take a look at this. This is the volunteer fire department. I mean, this is life on Mars. But this house, this old school traditional Japanese house, is being kept up, and a man comes every year and lets it air out. But look at this beauty. Look at that beauty. When it's opened, it's just ridiculous. On the other hand, this is Main Street. So, you better get very, I have become very accustomed. I've attempted to become accustomed to entertaining myself because I used to live in New York City. Saturday morning at New York City, just going to the corner to get the Times and back, you have a lifetime of experience and maybe meet a best friend. Here, not so much. And food, I mean, I love to cook. I love to eat. I'm very particular, and I mean, a lot of the things in Japan are just ridiculously good. But in my imagination, I figured, big fresh fish markets everywhere, with your fishmonger and such. But real rural Japan is this, man. That's the market. The next market is 40 minutes away from here. Now, don't get me wrong. Everything in there is 1 trillion times fresher than any market in America. And I can walk in there without any money and say I'm hungry, and they'll give me a bag of groceries, and I can just pay them whenever. I mean, there's a small town that's here that is perfect. But if you want to get a little bit of ricotta cheese because you're feeling lasagna tonight, or if I'm going to grab a whole chicken, I'm going to roast that sucker up tonight. Or I'm going to get a little cheddar cheese. I'm going to have cheddar cheese and apples tonight as a snack. Or, you know what? Let me just go, let me grab like a thing of arugula. I need to trim down a little. No, that's not happening. It's all seasonal. Like people who wish to live this seasonal, I want to have all the food grown within 2 kilometers of my house kind of a lifestyle. This is that by default. And, if you want to have a low fat, high protein diet, ching, no problem. I've had so many boneless, skinless, poached chicken breasts that, I don't know, man. I don't even have a good metaphor for it. But then there are other just like glorious things. I mean, this little cute car with his matching dog kennels. This guy loves dogs. And the dogs are so sweet. And he's so sweet to me. And we know each other and we throw out a konnichiwa. So the question was why I moved to Japan. I don't know why I moved to Japan. It was the thing to do at the time. Until next time, I'll be here in Japan. Most likely. Goodbye, friend. See ya. Bye.